Hey everybody, welcome to Matt's Metal Show. Today we're going to be talking about Rush. And there's 19 studio albums from Rush. There's a little one-off that they did for their 30th anniversary. I didn't really include that because it's like a little EP. Yeah, we're going to talk about Rush. I did a show like right after Neil died last year. And kind of like went through and talked about a bunch of albums and stuff. I still have it. I'll probably put it out maybe like later on. I know I have some like lost episodes where I filmed it and then I just, because it takes a long time to sit there and put all this little stuff together. It's not like it just, I don't do like Pete Pardo and I just, there you go. I like the way Pete does that though. I mean, but it's not my style. I like to put the little blurbs and little pictures and shit. So, hey, if you don't like it, oh well, metal. If you do like it, comment. Yeah. So, I'm going to go over the studio albums of Rush, my favorites, the way I ranked them. No right answer, no wrong answer. If you listen to Rush, awesome. We all got into Rush at different periods of time. I know the old Rush is like sacred to some people, and the later Rush is not. And I think it all just depends. Like I said, it always depends on what time of it was in your life when you got into a certain band, and that kind of leads you to the focal point of what albums you cherish most, I guess. I kind of looked at it like not only my favorite albums, because there's no Rush album that I can't listen to. There's a few I struggle with. Some of the later stuff, I do struggle with it. Because it's not as hook-laden as like the earlier stuff. But I kind of also view it as what albums would I pop on like right now. So my favorites, but also like what would I listen to? Like, do I necessarily want to pop this album on right now, or do I find it kind of ponderous and maybe I probably wouldn't do that? So, move that over a little bit. Still have shitty lighting, but hey, what are you going to do? Every once in a while I hit the lighting really good, and every once in a while I hit the lighting really bad. So, don't really give a fuck about that. I'm not here to look pretty, so let's talk about Rush. So, starting off at number 19, I'm going to go 2012's Clockwork Angels. The thing about Clockwork Angels is I didn't really get a lot of time with it. The latter years Rush albums, sometimes they tend to be a little ponderous, where you kind of digest them. It's not like the old days where you throw on like, moving pictures and you're just like, oh my God. It was more like, I got to dig into it a little bit. I got to listen to it over and over. I got to be in the right frame of mind. And that's the other thing too, that you just want to, understand. Like sometimes you listen to an album and you're not in the right frame of mind and you fucking hate it. And it's funny because years later when you like mellow the fuck out and you're not as critical, you go in and I'm not saying you lower your standards, but you at least like listen to it with like a new set of ears, and you could be pleasantly surprised. The other day when I was talking about my Dio albums, I know I bash Strange Highways like to death. That's one of my like go-to albums where it's like Shane Anger. It's like that shitty album that Motley Crue did, Generation Swine. It's like those albums that just stick out at you like a sore thumb. I bash that because I don't really like it. But the other day I actually went through and I listened to that. And I listened to Angry Machines again, and not as fucking terrible as I initially like, oh my God, this is fucking garbage. But still not one of my favorite albums. I'm not going to go, oh dude, I got to go fucking put that on. But at the same time, I kind of listened to it with like a different frame of mind, and I was like, it's not as shitty as I said it was, but it's still pretty shitty. So, Clockwork Angels. It was the last Rush album ever. It was a concept album about like alchemy and stuff. If you look on the cover of the album, there's alchemic signs, and it points to 2112, I believe. Right? Yes, it does. Some of these I remember they released Caravan and BU to B as like a single or a work in progress. I remember I got that, and those were pretty cool. I like Caravan; it's a good song. I think I would like this album more if I spent a little bit more time with it. It clocks in about an hour and 6 minutes long, so you gotta have a little bit of time to listen to it. It's just like the latter years in Rush. Uh, a lot of their songs just blend together. They don't pop out as much as they used to. The music just kind of flows. Excellent music. Neil's lyrics, still awesome. Not as like there's albums in the middle area that I think are like Neil's best lyrically, and I'll talk about that. But number 19, it's going to be Clockwork Angels, and yeah, Clockwork Angels. All right, that takes us to number 18, and I have 2007 Snakes and Arrows. Um, the thing with Snakes and Arrows is like I gave this album a shot. I listened to it like a bunch of times. I mean, it opens up with Far Cry, which is such a good song. Um, Malignant Narcissism's a cool song. A lot of the songs though, to me they just blend together. Spindrift, Larger Bull, Working Them Angels. It has like the Main Monkey Business. It's just like an instrumental. They did a lot of that later on. Where they would kind of revisit like YYZ and Via Strangiato. You gotta be prepared to say that really quickly. But I worked on this album. I I saw him on this tour. I just I don't know. There was just some of the songs just didn't feel too memorable to me. Musically, once again, it's a Rush album, so it's spectacular, but at the same time, there's just like not as many songs on there that pop for me as these other albums that I'll talk about. So, boom, number 17, Counterparts from 1993. When I first heard this album, I hated it. I literally hated it. This was the first Rush album that I heard that I was like, ugh, what is this? Over the years, because it came out in 93, over the years, I've softened on it. But it's not an album that I like reached for. And that's like kind of was my point is that, you got the between the sun and moon. I'm looking at it right now and I'm like, fuck, should I rank this higher? But no, I'm not gonna. The thing is that it has anime, it has Stick It Out, Cut to the Chase. Nobody's Hero is a good song. Between Sun and Moon is fucking great. I love Sun and Moon. And that was written by the same guy that helped write Tom Sawyer. And then it has Leave That Thing Alone, another little quirky thing that they did. But dude, there's songs on here like Alien Shore, The Speed of Love, Double Agent, Cold Fire, Everyday Glory. There's a lot of filler on this album. Once again, we're in the CD age, so every band felt the need to like put on 50 friggin' songs. There's like 11 songs on here, but it clocks in Jesus at woo! Bow down, bow, 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 na 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 na, bow down, bow. Good God. I said good God. Here we go, screwing up. It clocks in at 54 minutes, so it's like almost an hour long. Not too much music, but there's just a lot of songs like Ladder Rush. There's a lot of songs that just, I don't know, it just felt like, I don't know what they were thinking. So I love Rush. I've seen Rush like so many times, but some of those later albums, I'm like, But I can remember the like '93. I remember getting it, and it's got that screw with the thing. It's Counterparts. I like the cover, and I always put the cover different on mine. And it's the rabbit sitting on top of the turtle, which is badass. Hugh Syme, always doing great album covers. Some of them like are simple, like Hold Your Fire and Counterparts. Signals. People still like look at Signals and twist their head, but Counterparts, it was a heavy album. It had a lot of bass and everything, and like some people like they embrace that and they're just like, oh, because that middle '80s period, like Geddy didn't have a lot of bass. He was playing a lot of keyboards and stuff. He still had bass lines, but he wasn't like it wasn't like this where it was like, holy shit, there's Geddy's bass. He's like almost like Alex like stepped back and fucking Geddy's like the lead. I just remember listening to this album. When I first heard like Animate and like Stick It Out, I was like, yeah, I was not excited. Over the years, I've like I said, I've softened on it. I probably like 4 or 5 songs on it, but it's not an album that I like grab and go, fuck, I'm listening to Counterparts right now. Probably not. So that is number 17. So 16 is Vapor Trails. There's 2 versions of Vapor Trails. The thing about that album, because I didn't want to say Vapor Trails 3rd time in a row. The thing about that album, there was the original, and then everybody kind of hated the sound of it, and so years later they came out with Vapor Trails Remixed, and it does sound a lot better. It came out in like 2013, so the original album came out in 2002. Vapor Trails is that album, and the funny thing is, and I'm going to use funny thing because apparently I've been watching my shows and I say the funny thing about this is the odd thing about Vapor Trails is that there's a huge gap between Test for Echo was 96 and then Vapor Trails was 2002. In the interim of time, Neil lost his wife to cancer and his daughter was killed in a car accident. This is pretty much the Rush album that almost wasn't. I mean, Rush was done. But Neil went on this huge journey. He drove from like Canada all the way down to like the tip of South America on a motorcycle. Disappeared for a long time. He wrote a book about it. And I read it, and it was pretty amazing. He was going through a lot of stuff, and he needed to digest. He needed to figure out what his part in the world was at this point. So that was like a healing journey for him, and he came back, and they made Vapor Trails. One of the darker albums. There's a lot of songs in there about ghosts and like death. Kind of, maybe, you could read some stuff in there. Not one of my absolute drop dead favorite albums. I will tell you though, I like the remix way more than I like the original. But it does have one little victory, which is amazing. Ceiling Unlimited's pretty cool. Ghost Rider's pretty cool. It has Freeze, which is part 4 of the Fear trilogy. And remember what was the Fear trilogy? The Fear trilogy was Enemy Within, Witch Hunt, and The Weapon, right? Is that right? Is that right? So that was the Fear trilogy originally, and then they added a 4th song apparently because they felt the need. Yeah, Enemy Within was part 1 of Fear. And remember, they did it backwards. So part 2 of Fear was The Weapon from Signals, and then part 3 of Fear was Witch Hunt from Moving Pictures. And this is part 4. So that's odd, right? It's a cool song. It's not awesome. This album, just like I said before, with latter period Rush, they had some really strong songs, and then they had songs that just kind of like blended together. And it's a hugely long album, had 13 songs on it, so it was pretty long. But that's my number 16. Glad Neil came back, and we did get a couple more albums, 3 more albums out of him before calling it quits, and then he passed away, sucks. Number 15, I'm going Hold Your Fire from 1987. I remember seeing them on this tour. That was the year last year of high school for me. I look back at this album. Lyrically, there's some great songs, but this felt like Rush Light to me. It almost felt like easy listening Rush. Forced in with that little. It felt very electronic to me, this album. Time Stands Still, which is great. It has Amy Mann from In the Downtown. Voices Carry from Till Tuesday. That's a great song. But it had like Open Secret, Second Nature, Prime Mover, High Water. Those songs were kind of weak. Lock and Key was great. Mission, because the space shuttle just exploded, hadn't it? Or, one of them had. Turn the page, we disengage, we turn the page. What's up, Pook? This is Pook. He's filling in. We're talking about Rush. You want to talk about Rush? No? Well, you can't hide. Good God, we're filming about Rush. I just felt like, was Hold Your Fire like your favorite Rush album? No.
I don't even like any Russians.
You don't like the Russians? What's wrong with the Russians?
Bonobo.
Oh, Bonobo. No. Oh, Bonobo.
I like Monster better.
Monster from Skillet. Yeah. Throw up the horns. Yeah. Monster. Oh, I'm talking about Rush, my favorite band of all time.
I like Skillet better.
Well, I know you like Skillet. He likes Skillet. Skillet. Thank you, Papa. You've been a big help. We were talking about Hold Your Fire. I just felt like Hold Your Fire was a little like, it was kind of light. Had some poppy kind of cool songs. Had some memorable songs. Had some good lyrics. But it just wasn't like that album that I was like, oh my God, it's amazing. I mean, Tai Shan, like, that's a great song. But, like, I don't really reach for that very often. So, what are you doing? He's home from school sick. Huh? Are you sick? Oh, how do you feel? Alright, throw up the horns and then go back and play again. Metal! Alright. Boop, 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 boop.
See you later, alligator.
After a while, crocodile. Remember, if you watch like my first metal shows, like he was like a little baby, and now he's 6. Isn't that crazy? All right. Hold Your Fire, number 450. 1974's Rush, very first album. Had John Rutsey was the drummer. John Rutsey, yeah. He's passed away since that time, or a long time ago. A while ago. Yeah. What can you say about Rush, the first one? It's a great album for what it was. It was that album that like kind of boosted them and got them noticed in America because like some radio station in like Minneapolis or something like picked up on Working Man and they were like playing it and all of a sudden they got a tour going. So it's a good album. It's their debut. It's really heavy. It's got a lot of Zepp influence, a lot of Cream influence. You can tell what they were listening to. But it has Working Man on it. It has In the Mood. It has What You're Doing. It has Finding My Way. And then it has stuff like Take a Friend and Before and After. Here Again. It's a cool album. This is that one I really reached for a ton. Plus, it was pre-Neil Peart, so, so that's number 14, Rush, 1974. Number 13 is Caress of Steel. Caress of Steel. I could go down the list. It's Caress of Steel. Yeah. Some people love this album. Now, musically, this album is whoa. It didn't do well. I think it's the only Rush album that didn't go gold. 1975, released the same year as Fly By Night. Now, Neil's in the band. He's writing the lyrics. Caress of Steel is one of those albums I've definitely softened on it over the years because I used to just loathe this album. I used to just be like, what in the hell? But over the years, I've listened to it a lot more. It's not horrifying. It's just one of those albums that you really, really, really have to be in the mood for. Except for like the first side, because the first side's kind of playful. It's like Bastille Day. I Think I'm Going Bald, which was a kind of an inside joke between Max Webster and the guys in Rush, and they were kind of making fun of Kiss for going blind. Which I always thought that song was ludicrous. And then Lakeside Park. Lakeside Park. My pipes aren't up today. And then it had The Necromancer and then The Fountain of Lamneth. And The Necromancer it's awesome, but at the same time, it's super dreary. And the three travelers wandered on into the land of the Necromancer. I'm not a big fan of when they do a lot of voice changing weird shit on albums. I don't like a lot of sound effects unless it's like Pink Floyd and it's like part of the landscape and it should be. There's some great passages in here and musically it's stunning, but the only problem is like their fans back at the time, they had no fucking idea what they were doing. Like it was like rock album on one side and then like this hardcore prog J.R. Tolkien fucking fantasy weird shit on the other side. So album didn't do good. Don't believe they toured on it. I think their record company almost shit canned them. So they had to run back into the studio, or they walked. I'm not sure if they ran or walked. They had to go back in the studio, and they came out with 2112. So, and then everything was saved. But like I said, I don't hate this album. I don't hate any Rush album. But at the same time, I don't reach for this album a lot. I know like guys like, musicians like Mike Portnoy and Dream Theater, those guys, they like worship this album because it's fucking great shit on it. But at the same time, I don't bust out Necromancer very often. Just don't. So that is my number 13. Number 12 is Roll the Bones. Roll the Bones. Just keep saying Roll the Bones. Roll the Bones was one of those 90s albums. I kind of lost. I think after the live album, I saw them on Boop 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 Boop. Saw them on the Hold Your Fire tour, and then they came out with a Show of Hands, the live album, and then I kind of lost Rush for a couple of years. I lost them on Presto. I remember getting Presto and not being impressed with Presto, and then like it disappeared out of my memory forever for like a lot of years. And this was one of those albums that like I kind of gave up on Rush for like right up into Counterpoint, so like about 4 years. From 89 to 93. And then, like, I got Counterparts, and then I went back and listened to those. Roll the Bones was the one that I totally missed. And it's got that great Hugh Syme cover where it's got all the dice and the little kids kicking the skull. And there's some great songs on here. Like, I remember picking it up, and I was like, oh, dang. But then there's a lot of songs that are like, eh. Like, I love Dreamline. Dreamline is great. was such a great song. It's such great lyrics, you know. She's got a roadmap of Jupiter. No, she's got a roadmap of Venus. What did she have a roadmap of? Bravado, it's alright. Roll the Bones is cool, and then they do that little rap song, and then Face Up is great. Where's My Thing Part 4, like Gangster or whatever. And then you got the second side, like Big Wheel, Heresy, Ghost of a Chance, Neurotica, and You Bet Your Life. So, like, the second side was, it's not the second side because it was a CD. But if I break it down like an album, I'm thinking the first 5 songs on one side, the other 5 songs. That's how I kind of think because I grew up with albums. I would say the second half of this album is not amazing. So that's why it is number 12. But it's number 12 because it has Dreamline on it, which is friggin' awesome. It is friggin' awesome. She's got a star back in Jupiter, a list of cheap motels all along the highway. He's got a liquid crystal compass, promise of a decent job, far away from the homeland or whatever. Yeah, oh, such a good song though. Oh, whew, it's got that Metallica riff in it. Number 11, Presto. Like I said, man, I got this disconnect with Presto. I don't know, 89. I don't know. Things were going on different. I wasn't like jamming out to Rush. This has one of my favorite songs on it, Red Tide. I think lyrically, this album is amazing. A lot of people didn't get it. You know, it's Presto. It has a little Rochambeau thing in the middle of it, and then it's got the rabbits with the big hat on the top of it. Show Don't Tell. You know, that was awesome. Chain Lightning, The Pass. Like, they had like a lot of like kind of school shooting kind of songs. And God, what was this around Columbine or something? I'm not sure. Presto's cool. I love Superconductor because it's just Superconductor. Superconductor. It just feels like this cool song. Anagram for Mongo's cool. Hand Over Fist. Yeah. And then Available Light's all sprawling at the end. But, dude, Red Tide, when the red tide kisses the shore. Where he's like, river running like an open sore. Good God. That's one of my favorite Rush songs ever. Lyrically, it's a genius song. This was a good album, man. It had decent songs. But this was one of those ones, and it was one of the first albums from Rush that I had to digest. I had to like listen to it a couple dozen times before I was like, okay, now I get it. Because lyrically, it's stunning. There's like a lot of things going on. And musically, you know, you just kind of like, I don't know, you had to concentrate a little bit. And then once you did, you were like, wow. Because they started playing like The Pass, like all of a sudden, like in their later tours. They kind of went back and revisited this album a little bit more than what they had before. So that's a good album, man. Number 10, Fly By Night Away From Here. Yes. 1975, Fly By Night. Neil Peart's first album. His first. It was his first because he's Neil Peart. Yeah. It has Anthem of the Heart and Anthem of the Mind. A funeral dirge for eyes gone blind. It has Best I Can, which is great. It has Beneath, Between, and Behind, which is Beneath Behind the I can't remember it has fucking By-Tor and the Snow Dog. End of story. By-Tor and the Snow Dog. Oh my God. It has Fly By Night Away From Here. It has Making Memories and the end's okay. Rivendell, though, probably one of my least favorite Rush songs, Rivendell. It's just because it's just so... It sounds like they're playing mandolin and they're singing about fucking, you know, Elrond. You know, and it's really like... It's really like folksy J.R.R. Tolkien and yikes. But hey, it's their like second album, first album with Neil writing the lyrics. So that's number 10, Fly By Night. There's some amazing songs on there. Number 9, I'm going to go 2112. 2112. Some people would rank this super high. They'd say, oh my God, this is the album that broke Rush. And it did. I mean, they came out with Caress of Steel and they almost got like shit canned from their label because it did miserably. And then they came out with 2112 and it was kind of a hit. And then, they did the whole one side opus of 2112, which we are the priests of the temples of Syrinx. I'm not going to try and sing Hi Getty because that ain't going to happen. I love this album. It's a great album. I just don't really reach for 2112 a lot. I'm not really like, dude, I'm going to go sit down and listen to, Alex tune his guitar on 2112. But, dude, 2112, Passage to Bangkok. I love the Twilight Zone because it's so cool. Because it's about the Twilight Zone. And like, there's one point where, like, Getty's singing in one ear and he's, like, whispering the lyrics in the other ear. And it's pretty cool because he's like, look up to see a giant boy. You've just become his brand new toy. Yeah. Twilight Zone. It's got Something for Nothing on it. It's got Lessons and Tears on it, which aren't very amazing. But, 2112. Dude, 2112 is groundbreaking and it's amazing. And, it became their logo, for Christ's sakes, forever. But the thing is that I don't really, like, go, oh, fuck, I'm going to go listen to 2112. That's why, like, a Russian concert, they would do, like, the opening, and then they would do Temples of Syrinx, and then they would stop, because all planets of the Red Solar Federation, we have assumed control. We have assumed control. Okay. And the meek shall inherit the earth. We're taking care of everything. The words you read, the songs you sing, the pictures that give pleasure to your eyes. I mean, I remember it. It's fucking awesome. 2112, number 9. Number 8, I'm going to go 1996's Test for Echo. Probably one of my favorite Rush covers. It's so cool. It's got that little totem guy, like, built out of stones. And it's supposed to be massive because it has little dudes on it, waving. Ooh. For the latter period, 90s Rush, this is a pretty strong album. It had some really good songs on it. It had Test for Echo, which is great. It had Driven. Driven is so good. It had Totem, which I loved. I didn't mind, like, Half the World. It's all right. Resist is great. Getty and Alex would sit down acoustically and they would do Resist. This was a pretty strong album for a lot of years. Like, this was one of the albums that I kind of reached for. Like I said, typically more first half of the album than the second half. It has 11 songs. It's pretty long. But it has some great songs. I don't even mind, like, The Color of Bright, Limbo. There's some good songs on here, but there's some great songs on here. Test for Echo. And I think Test for Echo was kind of like Neil's, like, commentary on, like, just, like, media and, like, people, like, getting away with shit and stuff like that because of media and all that stuff. So, I don't know. It was a cool song. Yeah! Test for Echo. Number 8. Number 7, Farewell to Kings. Some people would rate this way higher. A Farewell to Kings is a brilliant fucking album. It is absolutely brilliant. And in fact, I quoted, like, A Farewell to Kings, the song, like, in my high school yearbook. because that's how much I liked this album. It was kind of, it was the next album after 2112, and then it was sandwiched in between Hemispheres, so it was like Hemispheres and 2112. Farewell to Kings, it had a Farewell to Kings. Cities full of hatred, fear, and lies. Withered hearts and cruel tormented eyes, right? Scheming demons dressed in kingly guise. Dipping down the multitude and laughing at the wise, right? I think that was the quote I put in my yearbook. It was amazing. It has fucking Xanadu on it. Yeah, Xanadu. Oh my god. It has Closer to the Heart, which is probably, one of their most popular songs. He had Cinderella Man, which I know everybody out there, there's this huge, huge following of people that just, like, Cinderella Man is like their favorite Rush song of all time. We probably don't live in that universe. Madrigal, and then it had Cygnus X1, which is 10 minutes long, and it's got one of the greatest riffs where it's like down, 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 down. It also had that voice in Cygnus, that kind of left me out of Cygnus X1 for a long time, because like I said with Necromancer and other songs that where they distort their voice, that bugs the shit out of me, but it's a great song. In the heart of Cygnus, dude, the last part, they used to play this live too, like in the later years. I remember seeing them on like the 30th anniversary tour, and they played this, and it was like, people were like, yeah. Cygnus X1, yeah. Farewell to Kings, man. Farewell to Kings is a great album. I love it. It's number 7. Number 6, I'm gonna go Hemispheres. Why not? The follow-up. Hemispheres is fucking flawless. It's got Cygnus X1 Book 2, which is great. It has Circumstances, The Trees, and then it has La Via Strangiato. And it's fucking flawless. It's just, it's number 6 because I love it, but at the same time, I don't reach a lot for Hemispheres just because it's, you have to invest some time in it. It's not a casual album that you can throw on, because there's some serious songs on here. I mean, Sickness is like 18 minutes long, and then La Via Strangiato is like almost 10 minutes long, so, it's only got 4 songs on the whole album. But it's brilliant. I got the anniversary edition, the 40th anniversary edition. It had like a live show from the Pink Pop Festival in the Netherlands. I think it was like a radio broadcast, but it's fucking brilliant. I mean, I love Hemispheres. And of all the like longer like song suite albums that they did, I mean, Hemispheres is my favorite. Like 2112 was the stepping stone, but Hemispheres is fucking genius. And I could listen to that. I could put it in and listen to it. I'm not saying I don't. I'm just saying, like, those albums kind of like more songs. Number 5, Grace Under Pressure. Now, I know a lot of people out there piss on these 80s Rush albums because there's a lot of keyboards and shit. But it was some of Neil's best writing. Like, straight up. This album, to me, it's fucking flawless. There's not a fucking song on here that doesn't have brilliant fucking lyrics. Brilliant. And there's not a song on here that I would skip over. I fucking love this entire album from beginning to end. People piss on it and go like, oh, Getty's not playing a bass on it. Dude, on this tour, Getty had a fucking Devo sticker on his fucking, or Devo pin on his fucking lapel. He wasn't, like, giving a fuck what you thought about, like, ooh, Getty's not jamming bass as hard as he should be. It's not, fucking Getty, dude. We know he fucking rules. So, lot more keyboards. Alex's guitar's not as, like, prominent, but I fucking love this album. And one of the reasons I love this album is I grew up in the fucking 80s. So I was like 14 when this album came out. So I fucking listened to it a ton. Had that bizarre fucking Grace Under Pressure fucking weird head thing, and used to watch the videos. You know, they had the live show on MTV, and I used to watch the fuck out of that. And, you know, they would do the Three Stooges. Well, I think they started that on the Signals tour. At the beginning of the show was, you know. They did a lot of SCTV stuff, you know, throughout the years because they're from Canada, for Christ's sakes. I love this album. I absolutely adore it. Distant Early Warning. A new wind comes arising across the cities of the plain. There's no singing in the heavy water, no swimming in the acid rain. No, swimming in the heavy water, singing in the acid rain. I always fucking get that wrong. As After Image was just like a total bummer song about one of their friends dying. Ooh. I feel the way you would. Do, 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 do. Oh. Red Sector A. Shouting gods and smoking guns will cut down the unlucky ones. Ooh, written about concentration camps. The Enemy Within. Wow, and that, you know, because that's about cancer, basically. The Enemy Within. Body Electric 100101 SOS. Kid Gloves. Red Lenses. Oh, I see red, and it hurts my head. And then Between the Wheels. They started doing Between the Wheels like on their later tours. I remember that they did Between the Wheels, and I was like, "Holy shit!" You know, because like, you know, they always did Distant Early Warning. It was a big hit, you know, and then they did Red Sector A. But dude, I remember they busted out Between the Wheels, and I was like, that's what I loved about Rush Live, though, is like you never know what you were going to get. Like you would go, they never had an opening band like in the later years. It was just an evening with Rush. They would do a set, take a break, and then do the rest of the set. They would play like 50 goddamn songs, and you never knew what you were going to get. They would pull out a song like out of their butt, and you would just be like, oh my God, you know. And Between the Wheels was one of those songs that they pulled out. It was absolutely stunning. So, Rush. Number 4, I'm going to go Permanent Waves. A lot of people, this would be their number 2 or number 1. Probably just because I've listened to Permanent Waves like so many times. Like, you know, I mean, Spirit of Radio, Free Will, Jacob's Ladder, Untitled, Different Strings, and Natural Science. Some people put this as their number 1. I mean, I like Entre Nous and I like Different Strings, but I think those are 2 weak spots on the album. You know, Jacob's Ladder is fucking amazing. Everybody knows Spirit of Radio and Free Will. My favorite song on here is Natural Science. You know, wheels within wheels in a spiral away. A vision so grand and complex. Sight of this time we lose sight of the way. Our causes can't see the effects. They started playing that on their later years too, man. They busted out Natural Science. I don't even think they played that on the. I don't think they played that on the Permanent Waves tour. The cool thing about it is every year as the albums get, you know, to their 40th anniversary, they've started repackaging them and throwing on like a live show. And I can't wait for them to do Permanent Waves. I really can't, because that'll be great. And I really can't wait for them to do Moving Pictures. That's my number 4. Number 3, I'm going to go Power Windows. People are going to lose their shit over this. I don't give a fuck. I really don't. Because I'll tell you what, I remember seeing Rush on the Power Windows tour. It was in, 86? And this came out in 85, so it might have been 85. Steve Morse band opened. You know, Steve Morse from Dixie Dregs has been in Deep Purple now for 100 fucking years. He opened the show, and then Rush came out, and we had front row, right in front of Getty Lee. We were in the front row. And I remember he was right there. And that was amazing. So, I love this album, and this to me is one of Rush's last perfect albums. It was. 1987. Everything after this was flawed. It was. But this album to me is fucking perfect. There's not a fucking song on here I don't like, and also this is some of once again this whole little section from like Signals. You know, Rush always had their albums in threes. They would do 3 albums, a live album, and that would be kind of like the end of that period, and then they would move forward for the next and then the next until the later years when they would just come out with an album and then a live album and then an album and then a live album and then 5 live albums. And you know, but the atmosphere of the music industry changed at that point. So what are you gonna do? But Power Windows was in that section of albums, which it was Signals, and then it was Grace Under Pressure, and then it was Power Windows, and Hold Your Fire. It was 4 albums, right? Was it 4? Boom, 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 boom. It was 4 albums. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's 4. Every 4 albums. Sorry. This was in that period, like from Signals to Hold Your Fire, even though like I didn't love Hold Your Fire, lyrically it was fucking genius. So I think that was the best era of Neil's songwriting. I think it was. Lyrically, he was fucking phenomenal. The Big Money, Grand Designs, Manhattan Project, that's got that. And the pilot of Enola Gay flying out at the shockwave on that August day. Like, they just killed 200,000 people, like right then. They dropped the fucking nuclear bomb and on Hiroshima, and wow, you know, the Manhattan Project. It was just about, you know, Oppenheimer making the nuclear bomb. It was fucking phenomenal. That song gives me goosebumps when I hear that. Marathon, Territories, Middletown Dreams, Emotion Detector, Mystic Rhythms. Mystic Rhythms. Jesus. That song is so rich. You like listen to it. It has so much sonically. I fucking love this album. And like I said before, there's a certain time and place where you were introduced to stuff. And for me, it was the 80s. And, you know, I was a kid, so I was a sponge and I was sucking up all this stuff. I love the later Rush. I do. But at the same time, also, I love that middle period of Rush in the 80s because Neil was putting out some of his best lyrics ever. Just ever. It was so immaculate. And you go back now, like, you know, after Neil passed away, I went on this long binge. I put together a playlist of songs that I felt would honor Neil to me. And a lot of these songs are on there because I felt lyrically, I mean, Neil's a great drummer. We all know that. But Neil wrote the lyrics. Geddy and Alex wrote the music. Except for sometimes Geddy would write like Cinderella Man. Different strings. I put together like a list of, you know, songs that I thought were like really honoring his songwriting techniques, and a lot of those songs were from these albums. So number 3 was Power Windows. Number 2, Signals. Signals is almost my number 1, but it's not. It's almost. Signals, another flawless album, man. And everybody, like I said, I know Martin Popoff loves this album, so thank you, Martin, for, you know, standing up and realizing what a fucking genius album this is. This was right after 2112. This was right after Moving Pictures and right after Exit Stage Left. So it was like, you know, everybody was kind of in that mood. And then all of a sudden Rush comes out with this kind of keyboardy album, and people were kind of like stunned by it, you know. This is some of Rush's best songwriting on here. It's not really guitar driven. It's not really bass heavy, but it has subdivisions. It has Analog Kid, Chemistry, Digital Man, as The Weapon, which is part 2 of the Fear trilogy, as New World Man, and as like one of my absolute favorite Rush songs, Losing It. Woo! Me and Matt, the Metal God, we both love Losing It. That's one of those like hidden gems on a Rush album that people forget about. That is so friggin' amazing. Then it had Countdown. Countdowns, they went and saw the space shuttle Columbia taking off, and they have all these like sound effects and NASA counting down and checking in on all the statistics and stuff. So for me, it's like it's cool, but it's not my favorite song. Signals, number 2, number 1, no mystery. Moving pictures, right? Right, Papa? Moving pictures. He's there. What are you doing? We love moving pictures. Yeah. Tom Sawyer. Right? Uh, 2 reasons why I love this album. One, this was the album that I got into Rush. I was like 12 years old. I heard Tom Sawyer on the radio, and I went out, and I think this was one of the first 45s I ever bought. It had Witch Hunt on the other side. Witch Hunt's a great song too. Are you dabbing in the background here, Papa? Don't be dabbing. Dabbing. One of the first 45s I ever bought. I don't even think I bought the album. Because I love Tom Sawyer. To this day, I know a lot of people are like, I never need to listen to Tom Sawyer ever again. Right? No. We listen to Tom Sawyer any time, any day of the week. We put on Tom Sawyer and we're like, oh, because Tom Sawyer's freaking amazing, right? Yeah. Freaking amazing. We love that. Yeah, Tom Sawyer. Moving pictures. Tom Sawyer, Red Barchetta, YYZ, Limelight. Limelight, Papa? Limelight. Camera Eye, Witch Hunt, Vital Signs. It doesn't get any better than this. This is their most popular album for a reason, because it's flawless. It's flawless. So when this came out, I ate it up. I know I got the single. I probably didn't get the album for a couple years because, like I said, I was like 12 years old, But this is a great album. I got to see them perform the whole thing live on the Time Machine tour back in like 2011. It was freaking genius. This is one of those albums like Signals, like Power Windows, like Permanent Waves, like Grace Under Pressure, like Hemispheres. Are in my top 10 albums like that I can put on anytime. Like I say, yeah, like let's do this. Some of those latter albums, like I try, and like after the show, I'll go look again and see if I can. Aren't you supposed to be sick? You're supposed to be sick. You're supposed to be sick. You're supposed to be laying down. You're sick. You're a booter. Metal. Ditching school today because he's sick. He is sick though, but he wanted to get in on my metal show. So, there we have it. There's our list. Number 19, Clockwork Angels. Number 18, Snakes and Arrows. Number 17, Counterparts. 16, Vapor Trails. 15, Hold Your Fire. 14, Rush. Finding my way back home, right? I feel I'm in the mood. Hey, baby, it's a quarter to 8. Oh, Working Man. Jesus. Working Man's so good. 13, Caress of Steel. I think I'm going bald. Oh, yeah, you're going bald. Number 11 is Presto. Number 10 is Fly By Night. Number 9, 2112. Number 8, Test for Echo. Number 7, A Farewell to Kings. Number 6, Hemispheres. Number 5, Grace, Under Pressure. Number 4, Permanent Waves. Oh. Number 3, Power Windows. number 2, Signals, and number 1, Moving Pictures. I mean, there's a crap ton of live albums now that I can't even keep track. We all know All the World's a Stage. That was like the first album I ever bought on CD. I was gonna get Moving Pictures. That was the second album I ever bought on CD. The first one was I was at Tower Records and I was like, Moving Pictures or All the World's a Stage. All the World's a Stage has like 12 songs on it. Moving Pictures has like 5 songs on it. I bought the live album. They cut off What You're Doing, but years later, when they finally formatted CD, they threw it back on. Because What You're Doing, dude, you better put that back on there. That's a great live album, and I love it because it's a live album. It's like in Toronto. It's like, from Toronto, the boys, Rush, and then and they jam like 2112 and all that shit, and they play all the good stuff from the early albums. Will you please welcome home Rush? That's what he said. Everybody loves Exit Stage Left because of the song listing. The song track is fucking genius. The only problem that I have with it is, one, it doesn't sound like a live album because it's like fades in and out, and the crowd noise is like nowhere to be seen. And then you come to find out, like, the middle section with like Jacob's Ladder and that kind of stuff was recorded the year before in '80 off the Permanent Waves tour. So it's actually like 2 different tours. That's why I'm saying I can't wait for them to come out with the Permanent Waves and then the Moving Pictures. Actually, Moving Pictures is up, right? Permanent Waves is up. Last one they did was like Hemispheres. That's the last one I got. So can't wait for those 2 because I can't wait to maybe we could get a live show from those tours, like a complete live show. It'd be great. A lot of people don't like really talk about a show of hands because it was on the Hold Your Fire tour. They did a video. I remember I used to watch the video. That was where like Alex is singing the video of Strangiato, and they came up with a thing and they blacked out his vocals. I don't know what he was singing. I think it was just a gag, but people don't really talk about that album. It was cool. I remember I got it when it came out, and listened the shit out of it, because that was like the tours that I went on, and so it had all the stuff from the middle albums. And then I really want to say like Different Stages, which is not like 3 CD set. It was like a 2 CD set of, I think it was on the Counterpart store. It might have been on Test for Echo. I think it was Test for Echo. And then they had that 3rd disc, which was like Farewell to the Kings, friggin' from Hammersmith Odeon, which is awesome. I have the 30th anniversary tour one. That's amazing. I have Rush in Rio. I know they did Snakes and Ladders live. I think I have that one too. Yep, I have Snakes and Ladders live too. That's a double album. All these like Rush albums are fucking cool as shit. It's just like towards the end they started putting out live albums after like every album, and it was like, I mean, there was a lot of cool stuff, and it was really fun for the fans to get because there were so many different song listings from each tour. And I remember just every time I would go and see them, they would pull something out of the bag that you were just like, awesome. So that's my Rush albums for you, everybody. Stay metal.